And that's, I think, the crux of everything that we do. And I want to close with this lovely picture and this quote from Dr. King. I hope, sirs, that you can understand our legitimate and unavoidable impatience. And I bet many folks here in Cleveland are feeling the same exact way. When Dr. King wrote this, he was literally sitting in a Birmingham jail and being told by many of his peers, mostly white ministers, in the South at the time, they were telling him, like, hold on, you don't have to, just like your time will come sooner or later. But you know what, this equality thing, it's like you just gotta wait. And they forgot that they were about to talk to a man who spent his last days, in Memphis, Tennessee, there to support the rights of black sanitation workers who were being asked to do the absolute worst jobs in the worst conditions for the least money simply because they were black. But he knew without a shadow of a doubt that if all he did was worry about the rights of them as just being fighting for their racial equality and was not concerned about their economic and the environmental equality that these folks were going to live, then he knew that his job was not completely done. So that's why he was there. And so when I think of Dr. King, and I think of all the work that you guys, that I've had the pleasure and privilege of seeing over the past couple of years, I think I just think, my goodness, we have, as a society, have built so much tributes, to all of our collective failures. We can take some responsibility. We can also do some good work too. But we all also know that we can also build huge monuments to what is hope and possibility in this country. And we can do that because you know what? We are in the Obama era. And I do not just mean the guy in the White House and his really cool wife, who's like, I love her. It is also about an acronym that I created, and it's called Officially Behaving as Magnificent Americans. Because we can. Thank you.
Now we would like to return to our speaker for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone, including guests. Holding the microphones today are Deborah Agosti, City Club member and outreach manager, and Carrie Miller, PR and programs manager. If you are upstairs and would like to ask a question, you'll need to come down to the microphones. First question, please.
This is an amazing story and certainly a testament to the power of one. I appreciate your vision and I appreciate your energy. A couple of questions. First, tell me about the obstacles or resistance that you faced, particularly in the South Bronx projects, and how did you overcome those obstacles? And with respect to that waterfront project, from vision to reality, about how long did it take?
Let's see, the obstacles. Quickly, there definitely, some of them were in the community, locally. I mean, I think it was difficult for some folks to see themselves as someone who wasn't struggling because there was a lot of entrenched, I think, oppression that folks had to deal with. So that was one, and that was really hard. Also, just making sure that the community, that our city, municipal, and state government understood that we were not just a community that could serve as the repository of all the waste that wealthier members of New York City could afford to avoid. Was something that we also had to, that was a huge obstacle, dealing with those. But as far as, going literally from, dog finding park to what you saw, for my wedding, that was a total of about 8 years. And it went through different steps along the way. Like that's the gorgeous part. But even before that, we were totally using it. I mean, we'd like set up a trailer, and put canoes in it, and then would literally lead, expeditions on the Bronx River. I mean, really, we had no shame. It was just this is your river, come use it. And we had a blast. We totally did. Oh.
Yes, I'd like to know, could you speak to this and how it's relevant to gentrification, spatial displacement, and in terms of the demographic, in terms of self-determination and self-empowerment?
Are you referring to?
The whole urban gardening, because oftentimes there seems to be a struggle regarding displacement and also ownership and determination.
My thing, and I'm actually glad that folks like KeyBank are actually here, because I think that we hear this a lot. They're like, you basically like, who are you? You're working to make a neighborhood better, and it just means you're going to drive the poor people out. That's one of the reasons why we place such a huge emphasis on economic development, frankly, because I find that when poor folks are empowered with a job, that they're not as easy to push around if they don't. So that's a really important reason why we focus specifically on that. But the other piece I think is also important, especially now, in a time where there's a lot of distrust, for financial institutions, that the ones that are coming out and trying to like really be great neighbors should also be really commended, for that. And I think that as we go forward, that there's going to be some great opportunities to ensure that, home ownership is not, it is a privilege. And supporting people to make sure that they are actually able to do that is important, and also helping to support, and encourage, entrepreneurial activities as well. So it's going to be really important that there's going to be banks and other financial institutions to actually make sure that investments are made in local communities, and that's something that we should be demanding, as we continue to bail out so many banks. Personally.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. You're great. I have two questions. One is, what do you feel about politics and Al Gore? I know that you challenged him a little bit.
Yeah.
So speak to politics, and what do you think of Al Gore and Ted? And then I have a personal question about your yoga. How do you fit that into what you're doing with the green thing?
Politics, that's the easy one. I think that it's a necessary thing. I wish more folks, frankly, our age would see it as something to do. And I think it's really important that, I haven't ruled it out for myself just yet. I haven't ruled it in yet either, but I'm not ready. But I think it's real important that we actually, really change from the system, even though we probably know that we'll probably only serve one term because folks will get tired of us. But not the people, but, the other entrenched interests. So that's, I think, important to say. The Al Gore thing, I think he's done more than anybody else, in terms of actually raising the issue of climate change, around the world. And I have to give the man, his props for that. I do wish that there's actually been more support to recognize that lots of other people, that actually, grassroots community groups need to actually still be at that table. And I don't think he's done such a great job at really encouraging, poor communities and people of color to be there. Yeah, and for the yoga thing, I just fit it in. I get up at like 5:30 every morning and make it happen. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, great.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we have been listening to Majora Carter,
I love you guys.
Urban Revitalization Specialist and MacArthur Genius. Thank you, Ms. Carter. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned.